So, guys, today we're going to discuss the importance of hybridization in your training. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean go training something completely different. It could also mean training with someone else, learn some new tactics, and so on. But I'm going to talk in real general terms today in terms of what I mean by hybridization of training. I'm going to give you guys kind of a background for myself so you understand where I come from in terms of these topics. So, I actually started training Krav Maga here in the US while I was living here. I did boxing when I was a kid. I always wanted to get back to some type of fighting art, and found Krav Maga here, started training in Krav Maga. Later on moved to Israel, learned some Krav Maga in the army, and thereafter stayed in Israel and continued to train in Krav Maga in Israel. So essentially I got kind of the best of both worlds, right? So I learned Krav Maga in Israel, I learned Krav Maga in the US, and being a fairly intelligent person, I was able to take what's best from each one and kind of contour it towards my own way of doing things, and that's kind of where I am today. And that goes with firearms as well, right? I learned to shoot in Israel, in the Israeli army. That was really my first real interaction with firearms. Of course, I shot a little bit here and there at outdoor ranges or indoor ranges, but my real skill-based training was done in Israel. Of course, after I moved back to the US, I started seeing what people are doing here. And instead of being, oh, this is how I do things and that's it, I started learning from them and picking things here and there that I thought made sense and were good or better than mine, and using them to improve my skills. So that brings us to our discussion today. You gotta mix up your training. You gotta hybridize. The worst thing you can do is stick in incestuous learning, so to speak, right? To where you're sticking in the same circle of learning, the same circle of skill, and that's the only skill you're just repeating. It's just like, anything that's inbred, it's not going to be very, very good. It's not going to improve. It's going to stay the same. And we always want to improve. So, for example, if you're training Krav Maga and you've been training Krav Maga for 5 years and all you've trained is Krav Maga and organization XYZ, you got to go out there and go train with a different organization, see what they have to offer, see what they're teaching, right? See what you can learn from them. Maybe they've been doing some defense way better than you. You got to pick that. You got to let go of that ego and say, I have the best system, and go to them and see what they're doing and try to learn from them, right? Same thing goes for firearms. You go out and take courses with one guy, or your only skill that you learned was from the military, you're going to be very limited in what you can do. You may think you know everything, but as the saying goes, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know anything. So same thing goes with firearms. I try to take at least 2 courses a year from somebody else when it comes to firearms. And, sometimes I'm like, damn, that course sucked. That was a waste of my time. And sometimes, I got one thing, but that one thing helped me put a lot of things together. So you got to hybridize your training. You got to think about always taking in new things and improving. For example, my combat pistol course that I did in 2016, so 3 years ago, is completely different than the combat pistol that I teach today, or the last one we had, I should say, in May. Completely different. The curriculum is different. Some things are the same, obviously, some things are the same, but the way the curriculum is structured is different. The way the curriculum is presented is different. The skills taught are different. And where does that come from? From constantly taking things, putting them out, putting them in, and trying to improve my skills. And that same thing needs to go to you. If you are training in one system, in one way of doing things, and you've never looked left or right, you're potentially missing out on a whole nother world, okay? For example, with me in Krav Maga, one of the reasons that I've decided to actually go to BJJ now and start training lots of BJJ is because I've trained a lot of different Krav Maga systems. I know that my skill level is fairly high at this point in Krav Maga. And Krav Maga doesn't really teach that much ground game. So I need to go to something that focuses on the ground game and see what I can pick off from there and maybe help improve my system. So for example, you know, some of the grappling, stand-up grappling control, some of the takedowns, I'm able to take that and adapt that to my Krav Maga skills because, wait, I see some value in that. I see something that can give me a huge tactical advantage over opponent in certain situations. Vice versa, some techniques that I see in Krav Maga, I'm like, well, we need to change that because I've been training BJJ and I can say, okay, that technique is not going to work so well. It's not the smartest thing to do. For example, in Krav Maga, I used to teach kind of like a side clinch. So you're not grabbing around the neck if you know Muay Thai. You're grabbing to the side of that person's body. Now, it seemed like a great technique to me in the past. Seemed like it worked great. But then, you know, I went and trained BJJ and I realized, okay, if I go for that side clinch, it's really easy for my opponent to just grab my leg and throw me down. So I got to get rid of that, or I got to change that to an underhook with an arm on the shoulder, something like that. So you got to go out there, guys. You got to mix it up. You got to hybridize your training. You got to mix it up all the time. Try something new. Pick one thing. Even if you take 5 hours of training from, you know, something that's completely different than your martial art, or maybe a different firearms instructor, or maybe a different fitness instructor, and you get one thing out of it, guess what? That's one thing that you didn't know before, and that's one thing that you're gonna get a lot more help out of it. You know, for example, I took a course several months back. I brought a couple of my more advanced students. We took a precision shooting class. Now, I've been through sniper school. I've been shooting for almost 10 years now. It's something that I'm fairly proficient at. But the one thing, and the course was good, but it wasn't the best course. But I picked one thing that I really liked from it. And it was the way that they talked about natural point of aim, about being comfortable when you're taking that shot, being able to fall asleep on your gun when you're taking that shot. And that one thing helped me in a whole bunch of other levels in my shooting, whether it's pistol shooting or rifle shooting or tactical shooting, whatever it is. The point being is you gotta get out of your own shell, go out and learn something new. And that's it, guys. It's short live today because I just wanted to talk about these topics and kind of give you guys my perspective on it and help explain to you how important it is. So if you've been training in one system, one way for the last 5 years, 4 years, 10 years, whatever it is, go out there and learn from a different system. You never know what you may learn, or how many things you've been missing, or how many things you've potentially been doing wrong because you didn't know any other way. So guys, go out there, train, hybridize, learn something else, learn something new, and improve. Guys, we got a lot of courses coming up. This weekend, combat pistol ground fighting is going to be crazy. It's really hot outside already. It's going to be really sunny. It's going to be really rocky. All kinds of things like that. So be prepared, guys. We're going to go live from there. There may be some people passed out on the ground, but it'll be a fun class nonetheless. Looking on ahead, we have combat rifle fundamentals. It's going to be kind of our last full course before I take a little break. And we brought back low light courses once again to keep us out of the sun in these hot summer months. So guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. If you have any questions, send me a direct message. Thank you, guys.